Hello, in this video I'm going to follow up a couple of towns here in Australia that I've mentioned in previous recent videos, one being Kiama and the other being Goulburn. Here we are in Kiama and the Kiama Obelisk, and this is was a survey point from which all measurements in the district were measured. Also, I'm going to talk about the Meridian plaque in Goulburn, and also the Macquarie Place in Sydney, the obelisk there, also being a survey point from which all roads in the colony were measured. Also how these three, the Kiama Obelisk, the Meridian plaque in Goulburn and the Macquarie Place obelisk, have been moved from their original location, and how that ties into a few other places around the world where we see a similar thing happening. But beginning here in 1818, the obelisk was erected by Governor Macquarie, called the Father of Australia, and from this point, from this obelisk, all roads in the colony were measured. Now, Governor Macquarie is very much Australia's version of George Washington, being a very keen surveyor, a conscientious Freemason, and someone who's very interested in surveying and laying out not just new roads but also new cities and new towns. Curious thing about the Macquarie Place obelisk is that it's not in its original location. Macquarie Place is a rather small triangular shaped park in the middle of Sydney, and it was moved a few metres from its original location, and the explanation given was to free up some area there, but it doesn't really make much sense. This same thing we're going to see in Kiama, where the survey obelisk was moved. The explanation given was that a runaway truck hit the obelisk, and so to put it in a safer location, they moved the obelisk across the street and at the bottom of a hill of a T intersection, so they've moved it from a slightly precarious place into a really precarious place. At the bottom of a hill of a T intersection, it's directly there, so it doesn't really work that the Kiama obelisk was moved for that reason, and it doesn't really work that the Macquarie Place obelisk was moved for that reason. Then I want to talk about Goulburn. That has very much the same thing. Now, in 1910, the transit of Venus was measured from there, and the exact coordinates of Goulburn were used, the transit of Venus, to locate Goulburn exactly to its longitude, latitude, so forth, making it another survey point from which measurements and locations could be accurately defined. That was in 1910, but then in 1997, the original plaque was moved a few metres to make way for a child's playground. Once again, this very important marker, historical place, was moved for a very flimsy reason. This also happens. You'll see it reflected across many other places. Now, I want to get into that in another video, but we're seeing three important survey points, each one of them having been moved a few metres, a very short distance, and each one having a very poor explanation as to why. The same thing again in other parts of the world where these important survey milestone markers are moved, yet there's no really good reason for it. Now, they all seem sort of to be given a different explanation. Each one's a little bit flimsy, and I've done some research into this, and it's not wholly complete, but there seems to be a pattern as regards to the distance and where they are moved, and also a pattern in the timing. They seem to have been there for a certain amount of time, and then they are moved. each one of these sites is more important. It's more important than just about measuring roads and measuring land. Measuring meridians is very much to do with the measurement of time, which is a key component, as I've reflected before. And not far from Goulburn, we have Meridian, Australia, which is on the 150th meridian, the only town in the world on the 150th meridian. But not only that, it's 34.716 degrees south, making it probably the most, time-wise speaking, the most perfect town in the world. At least there might be equals to it, but there would be no town in the world more important regarding time, because on 34.716 degrees south, the length of the equinox is exactly, the day and night are exactly the same amount of time. The sun rises at 6 a.m. and it sets at exactly 6 p.m., dividing the day into two periods of 43,200 seconds. The town is on its way to Goulburn, and the survey of the road towards Goulburn has some Freemasonic connections, especially through Hamilton Hume and James Meehan, who was the colonial surveyor for Governor Macquarie. And so whether it's by natural or by engineered timekeeping, this location is one of the prime spots in the world for perfect timekeeping. But there are many. It's a very small town, and so there's. But there are a few very interesting points, and connecting it to, again, this 150th meridian to esoteric occult groups. One of the earliest Freemasons' arms was in Meridian, and here we see Meridian Park, which has the Meridian marker as well as a sundial, a double reference to time. And we'll have a look through the town. So just up the main road, George Street, we have the Meridian Cafe, which is opposite the town clock. The town clock is made from is set into a large piece of stone, the largest piece of stone, at least at the time, to be moved by a truck. It was moved from the Meridian quarries in South Meridian, but 29.53 long tons. The synodic month of 29.53 days is how we can predict eclipses. It's also what causes the phases of the moon, and many of the tidal periods are also connected to this. But as we there's also a war memorial obelisk in the town, but as I've mentioned in the previous episodes, the importance of obelisks and war memorials in small towns. But so back to Meridian Park, we see the sundial with a reference to Kronos, and this poem, "Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be," and a picture of Kronos or Saturn. And we'll also see that figure, if you're familiar with it, in regards to the Weeping Virgin and the broken column. Again, a very potent, omnipresent, esoteric occult symbol, especially in regards to the Third Rite. But and here we see the Meridian marker, and not too subtle reference to Sun, Earth and Moon, where we see the Moon crescent, the sphere in top of the marker, the revolving sphere, which divides the world into 12 sections of 30 degrees, has Meridian marker is 30 degrees from the 180th meridian. So we have a moon reference, we have a symbolic moon reference, a symbolic earth reference, as well as one brings us closer to the mapping and mathematics of this, and also solar reference with the disc. Now, you don't get it from the picture, but the disc is tilted and slightly offset. Which creates a sighting tool. I've never been able to get there on the exact day that you need to be there, which is the equinox, but I'm hoping to do that soon, and just to get the observations and to be get more certain as to the reason for the angle and the twisting in the sun portion of the marker. But Sun, Earth and Moon, the 29.53 days of a synodic month being a relationship of Sun, Earth and Moon, the stone upon which the Marula marker is set, 29.53 long tons, the town itself being on the perfect location to make the equinox of exactly equal day and night. The sun rises exactly 6 a.m. and sets at exactly 6 p.m. So time, sun, earth and moon. And this road was also the road through Marulan was a key point to building the road to Goulburn, where I mentioned earlier the Meridian plaque there, where the transit of Venus was used to find the exact longitude and latitude of Goulburn itself. But more than that, the town being 30 degrees, 150 degrees from Greenwich, or 30 degrees from the 180th meridian, also brings up a beautiful set of numbers which carries back to the numbers that I've been mentioning over and over again as regards to the grand capital cities of the world, such as Paris, Astana, Brasilia, Washington and Canberra, which is about an hour's drive south of Marulan. So we see it is 756,000 seconds from here to travel back to the prime meridian. 756,000 Egyptian royal miles, or 30 degrees from the 180th meridian, which is 108,000 seconds. And the Earth travels 108,000 kilometers per hour around the Sun, and the polar diameter of Saturn being 108,000 kilometers. Also in gradient, it gives us 2.16799, essentially phi squared or phi plus 1. Earlier I mentioned 756,000 seconds, 756,000 kilometers, 756,000 Egyptian royal miles defining the equator of the Sun, which is wonderful because the Great Pyramid, the graphic's gone past, but on the equinox the Great Pyramid has this wonderful property of casting of the 8 sides of the Great Pyramid show. Just up the road from Marulan we see the Bong Bong town. The township's no longer there, but there's also an important survey, a commemorative obelisk to mark this point, being very important. It was a military station, but the township, and essentially it was another one of these survey points from which measurements were taken. And in 1947, even though the town was long gone, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester visited and planted some poplar trees there. Why is that important? Well, the Duke of Gloucester then and now are very high-ranking Freemasons. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good one.